my Lord, take this soul, lay me at the bottom of the river. The devil has come, carry me home, lay me at the bottom of the river.
Welcome to Louisiana, Aaron. Have you ever met anybody from this state who's boring?
No.
They don't exist, man. These people here are fun. Look how pretty this is.
This is nice.
Lake Charles, Louisiana is just a few hours away from my hometown of Houston, and we love to come here because the fishing is good and I like the casinos. But this week, I brought along Aaron Sam, who spent his career working on murder cases in the South to help investigate the 2002 murder of Jeff Vizay, who was shot in his car after attending church on Palm Sunday.
From what I read, Jeffrey Vizay was a mama's boy. He was a very good guy.
A good athlete. Seems like he was a good football player.
And also in the National Guard.
Still going to church, like Mama taught him.
Right.
Goes on Palm Sunday. The plan is to go have barbecue with the family. Mom's sitting there waiting for him to show up for the barbecue, and he never shows up. As a mother, I can't imagine how horrible it would be to find out on a day you're celebrating with your family that your baby has been killed, and then to have to go 15 years without justice or any answers about what happened. It's just weird the way it happens. It's not a robbery.
Right. His foot was on the pedal. His seatbelt was still on. It looked like he wasn't going to be there long, or he was picking somebody up. So trying to find out that particular person or why he was there is the big question. Jeff was around his friends, family, and witnesses for most of the day, except for an approximate 15-minute window when, for some mysterious reason, he drove to the apartment complex where he was killed. And the question that's baffled police the most is, why did Jeff drive there, and was he lured into a trap? Did somebody run into him? Could they have forced him to pull into some place he wasn't familiar with?
If that's our scenario, then that means that our shooter is going to be thought out and premeditated to figure out a ruse to make him drive him somewhere to shoot him,
Right.
which is kind of devious.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if we can find out the why, then we can find out the who, and we can get justice for Jeff and his family.
Family deserves some justice.
Yeah, I know.
It has been 16 years and still no answer.
Police consider her killing a cold case.
Years later, the case is still unsolved.
I've chosen cold cases from across the country and teamed up with the best detectives to solve them. We're more determined than ever to bring justice to these victims. Got your file?
Yep.
Hey,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm
Mark
Kelly.
Krause, Lake Charles Police.
Kevin Kirkland. Aaron Sam.
Well, welcome to Lake Charles. Hopefully, with y'all's efforts and the commitment of these guys, we're going to have a resolution of this case.
Wonderful.
I was on this case from the very beginning, and it's been with me for a long time.
Well, hopefully we'll get some good luck. Y'all ready to get to work?
Let's go to work.
Let's roll. This case has been following me for the last 15 years. It's not just important for me, it's important for the family. They need closure. It's my job to speak for Jeff because he can't speak right now.
So, Kirkham, start off with telling us about Jeffrey.
He was 30 years old at the time that he was killed. He was an all-star athlete in high school, very good quarterback. He later on joined the National Guard. He's ex-military. He did taxes on the side. He was planning on opening a tax office, so he was kind of excited about that. At the time, he was seeing a female by the name of Jackie. They had been seeing each other for a while. Everybody that I've talked to characterized him as just a genuinely nice guy.
Yeah.
He was raised in a church home.
Okay.
I know on the day that he was killed, which was Palm Sunday, he had just come back from a Catholic church.
All right, so March 24, 2002. Tell us what happened.
We got the call about 1:35 p.m. The first officer showed up. They found him sitting in his car. The passenger side door was open. Mr. Vizay had 2 gunshot wounds. One was into the cheek area and one was at the top of the head.
The police interviewed the apartment residents, but nobody witnessed the shooting or had any information that could help identify Jeff's killer. Somehow, somewhere, some why, he ends up at the parking lot.
At the parking lot.
Since Jeff didn't know anybody at the apartment complex and he didn't have a cell phone to help track his calls or his movements, it's always been a mystery why he went there or who he came in contact with. You have Smokey Humphrey in your world as a suspect. What's Smokey's real whole name?
Lawrence Humphrey. That started off when the jailhouse snitch said that Smokey's uncle had received a letter from Smokey claiming that he had something to do with the homicide.
And the snitch said he actually read the letter. It says that he killed a guy on Division Street. You need to be wary of information you get from a jailhouse informant, since they sometimes offer false information to gain favor with the police. And it's unclear if Smokey even knew Jeff. But if he really wrote a letter suggesting to his uncle that he killed him, we need to look into it.
Just 4 days prior to Jeffrey being killed, Smokey had committed a shooting. The subject had been shot at the base of the neck and in the head, which is kind of similar to how Jeffrey was killed.
Smokey fled town right around the time that Jeff was killed, but he was eventually caught and arrested for shooting the man that he shot in the head just 4 days before Jeff was killed. But the question is, was Smokey fleeing town after committing one shooting or two? Next up, let's put Ron Perrodin up on the board. So Ron Perrodin is who to Jeffrey?
They were best friends from high school on forward. I mean, they would see each other almost every day.
The sister mentions the
dope falling out.
The dope
Right.
falling out,
Exactly.
yeah. It was over money and drugs.
Okay. Ron and Jeff have been friends since childhood, but there were rumors swirling around that just weeks before Jeff's murder, they had gotten into this heated argument over marijuana or money, and they weren't seeing each other. But would an argument over marijuana or money be enough motive to kill your best friend?
Based on the crime scene, identification technicians found what appeared to be a palm print on the passenger side door of the vehicle. It came back to Ron Perrodin.
Okay.
There's really no way to know exactly how long fingerprints would last on a vehicle. So Ron's print could have been left there innocently prior to Jeff's murder. But if Ron and Jeff hadn't seen each other in weeks, it does make you wonder if Ron's prints would still be on the car.
And how does Perrodin get in the system?
His criminal history goes back to '93, right out of high school. There was aggravated battery, dope and violence.
Was Jeffrey getting in any trouble himself?
Jeffrey didn't have an extensive criminal history.
Okay, so they're still buddies, but he's getting in a lot more trouble than Jeffrey is. But yet they stay friends.
Yeah, it's like he did his own thing.
Jeff and Ron remained close, even though after high school they kind of chose separate paths. With Jeff going off and joining the military, and with Ron kind of going off and getting more involved in the drug world and criminal activity.
It was strange that as close as they were, Ron didn't even go to the funeral.
Oh. If you're pissed off at Jeffrey for whatever reason, to shoot him in the middle of the day on a public street, I mean, that's kind of a different way of thinking about it, too. You didn't just happen up on him. You didn't try to catch him in the alley at night. That's, you know what I mean?
Right.
Jeff was shot in broad daylight outside of an occupied apartment building on a busy weekend. Not the ideal scenario to get away with murder, which suggested it's either a spontaneous crime of opportunity or an incredibly bold move by a determined killer. So, Lieutenant, this house that we're going to is Miss Patricia Boute's house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to meet with Jeff's mom and his sister and his daughter. Everyone important in Jeff's life, especially his mother.
Hello, how you doing?
What she's been through already that day, and for the last 15 years, you think, oh my God, Jeff was her world, and she lost her world. What a horrible thing to have to go through.
Can y'all just tell us a little bit about Jeff?
Jeffrey was her favorite.
She's not denying it.
She's not.
I'm not. Had a heart, always very compassionate to other people. He served in the church as an altar boy since he was about 7 or 8. Never got in trouble at all, never.
Good grades?
Jeffrey knew the work, but he wanted to be the class clown.
We go to the funeral and I'm just like, my daddy is in the casket. I didn't believe it until I saw him there. So when this first happened, I was 12 years old. I think he would have played a big role in my life. I wish he would have been there to see me go through school, graduate, and go to college. I want to know who did this to my dad.
And Miss Patton, how have you dealt with all this for the last 15 years?
Well, I've been dealing with this through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ telling me that it's what he wanted, you know, it's his will. But it's never a day I don't think about my baby. You know, some people, they're driven with hatred, anger, but I never had that.
Well, you don't know for sure yet who did it, though.
Whoever it was,
Okay.
I didn't have that hatred.
I've met a couple of parents who've said that they're not angry and they leave it all in God's hands for him to judge them one day. And I've always thought, I really, really commend you for that, but I can't do it. I just want to come back and say that someone's finally arrested for what happened to Jeff. Did you know about Ron?
So,
how close did they used to be? How did they become friends?
like brothers.
They were that close.
Super, super close. But a month before this happened, they were beefed out. Him and Ron wasn't friends anymore. From what I understood, the fallout was about some marijuana. Ron was mad at Jeff, Jeff was mad at Ron. I don't know the exact circumstances of it. I know it was little because both of them didn't have any money anyway.
Okay.
But the only person that I've ever heard him say, I got a beef with, is Ron.
Okay. Church started at 11, so
Right.
he's probably traveling around, what, 10:15?
Right.
The best way to investigate the 2002 murder of Jeff Vizay is to track his known movements on that Palm Sunday. So we're starting with the church we know he attended that morning.
This is it right here.
This is the church right here, St. Henry's Church.
So he gets out around noon.
The next stop we know that he made is Yashika King's house on Anita Drive. Here we go. So it would have been this building back here where he met Yashika King and Shalonda. This is where he visits with the girls sometime after...
They said around 12:15, 12:30, right?
Right.
According to Jeff's friends, Yashika and Shalonda, they gave him $20 and asked him if he would drive to Abe's grocery store to buy them some boudin sausage, cigarettes, and soda. Jeff agreed to do that, and then he left, and that's when the mystery of his movements begins.
Here's Abe's right here on the left-hand side. So he bypasses that. This is Tobacco Plus right here.
Instead of driving to Abe's, Jeff went to a Tobacco Plus store where he was spotted on the security camera buying cigars at 1:13 that day. That video was the last time Jeff was seen alive.
And because of the way that the camera was situated at that time, all you got him is coming out the door. You can't see the cars in the parking lot.
What do you think happened here?
Jeff could have met the suspect here, or Jeff could have picked him up along anyway in this route.
We don't know if Jeff met his killer in the parking lot, picked them up nearby, or met them at his next location, the apartment complex where he was shot and killed 15 minutes later.
This is Division Street here,
Okay.
and he would turn into the driveway here.
So we're trying to figure out why Jeff would have wound up at this apartment complex so deep into the driveway. The original apartment complex has been torn down, so we set up a mock crime scene at a complex just like that one nearby. Hopefully visualizing the scene can tell us more about how Jeff was murdered and who killed him.
The driveway is about the same size as it was.
He drove a pretty good ways in.
He drove into the parking lot instead of by the street.
Here, let these be your casings. So the casings.
Okay.
Yeah.
About here.
Thank you.
And then middle of the door.
Middle of the second
Right
door.
here.
Right here.
Okay.
All right.
Jeff's murder in his car was unique because essentially it became a moving crime scene. We know his vehicle stopped after hitting a parked car at low speed, likely because it rolled forward when he released pressure on the brake after being shot. And when you factor in the location of where the 2 shell casings were found, you can rewind the scene and visualize how Jeff's murder occurred.
Aaron, you talk us through how you think the shooting happened with the car.
There you go. All right, come up.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up? Boom!
First shot is to the top of the head. As he's coming up,
boom!
second shot hits him in the cheek from a downward motion, causes his body to go all the way back up, and that causes the pathway of the bullet to come out of his neck. And this is his ending position. The $20 was still in his pocket. The car hadn't been gone through. It obviously wasn't robbery. The next thing we have to figure out is, how did we get that print on that door?
Yes. Show us where it was exactly on the car.
We found the left palm print on the black part of the door frame, and it returns back to Ron Perrodin.
Ron and Jeff were friends, so Ron's palm print could be completely innocent. But it does make you wonder whether there's anything about the position of Ron's print that suggests it was left there while committing the crime.
One of the scenarios, as the car is moving,
after shot one,
he can grab it here to try to steady himself to stay with it. The only other scenario is that after he shoots, in his haste to leave, he may have pushed the door and took off running to try to close it, but he didn't close it.
Didn't get it.
The scenario could have worked whether the guy was coming up to the car or whether the guy was already in the car and had gotten out.
What connection did Smokey have to this neighborhood right here?
None that I found.
As far as we know, Jeff had no connections to this apartment complex, and our suspect, Smokey, didn't either. But Ron Perrodin lived just a few blocks away, and the police have always believed that the killer might have fled on foot. So if Ron did kill Jeff, it could have been easy for him to get away.
This was his house back then. I mean, by car, it took us, what, a minute and a half? On foot, it probably would take less.
Unfortunately, it's still unclear whether Jeff's murder was a crime of opportunity by a stranger or a fight between friends. We're missing a piece. There's something in there that changed the plan, that changed the drive. The only way to find out is if we start talking to witnesses.
Hello. You remember me?
Yes, I do.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Jeff's friends, Yoshika and Shalonda, were with him an hour before he was murdered. We need to know if they witnessed any behavior that could help us piece together the events that happened that day.
When he got there from church, what happened?
I asked him, I said, you don't mind going to the store? He said, yeah, I gotta go get some ribs. My mama got a barbecue.
He went to the store and he never came back.
At your place, what was his demeanor?
He was happy. He had been to church Sunday morning with his family. They was doing a family gathering.
So it didn't seem like nothing was bothering him?
No, nothing was bothering him. Nothing at all.
I still don't know anything, and I wish I did. I would like to know what happened to him, because he was a real nice guy.
We didn't get the booty, we didn't get the $20, we didn't get nothing, and we didn't get Jeffrey no more.
The lady's statements match what they initially told police, and they don't have anything new to add. But they did confirm what we deduced at the crime scene. Jeff seemed completely unaware that he was in any danger that day.
Did you know VJ?
No.
You never knew?
I never knew him a day in my life.
You had never seen that car around there before?
I never seen that car at all. Never.
The apartment resident that called 911 after hearing the shots initially told police that he didn't see anything suspicious that day, but we need to be sure.
You know, streets talk. I've been knowing Smokey all my life. I heard he the one did it. He kept a gun. 22, whatever, he kept a gun. And he will pop something. I know he would. Smokey, when he shoot a person, he like to shoot him right here. He like to shoot him behind the neck or in the neck. Smokey will kill anybody.
It's unclear if Smokey even knew Jeff, but according to this witness, maybe that wouldn't even matter.
If he did it, I don't know, but he'll murk something. He'll kill something.
I appreciate you, man.
All right.
We have two suspects in the murder of Jeff Vizay, his best friend Ron Perrodin, and convicted criminal Lawrence Smokey Humphrey. What initially put Smokey on the investigators' radar was a letter that he allegedly wrote to his uncle in prison about a month after Jeff's murder, admitting to the crime.
Mr. Gibson.
Kevin Gibson, also known as Big Lip Gip, was the jailhouse informant that reported this letter to law enforcement. We're calling him in prison to see if he can remember anything else that might help us.
You made a statement that you was locked down with William Humphrey, the older one, and that you read a letter from Smokey. Tell me what was supposedly in that letter.
That the people was running their mouth talking about Smokey had just did that.
saying that Smokey did the homicide? Did he say what they were running their mouth about?
He said they need to quit running their mouth about something they don't know.
Kevin recalls the letter, but now he's saying it was about people accusing Smokey of killing Jeff, not Smokey admitting it. The question is that because it's been 15 years or because it was a lie? After all, they do call him Big Lip Gip.
We'll tell Jeff about the homicide case out on 100 Street.
Could you have information on that one too?
I surely do.
Okay. All right, Mr. Gibbs, I appreciate you talking to us.
All right.
Thank you, sir. You know something about whole another homicide.
Uh-huh. See what Mr. Smokey's doing.
I anticipate a short phone call.
We've got doubts about the prison letter, but we have heard other rumors that Smokey killed Jeff. And we know that he shot another man in the head just days before Jeff's murder and fled town soon after that. So we need to talk to him.
You have reached the Federal Correctional Complex, Belmont, Texas.
The good news is he's easy to find because he's serving a 20-year sentence for selling guns.
Yeah, Mr. Humphrey, is this concerning a homicide that happened back in 2002? We just had some questions.
I don't know nothing about that, sir. I'm constantly doing time on what people keep saying, sir.
It ain't about that. It's about somebody else who lost a life. I just wanted to see if maybe you could clear up a few things for me.
I could never clear it. I need you to get your people, whoever say I done something, to clear me up because I don't never know what's going on with these bogus cases, man.
Did you know a Jeff VZA back in the day? Jeff VZA?
It's pretty clear that Smokey either doesn't have or is not going to give us any useful information. That's not surprising, but it also means he's still in the middle of this investigation. Oh no, nothing about nothing.
Jack, you want something to drink? Anything?
While we work on tracking down Smokey's uncle, we're going to turn our attention to our other suspect, Ron Perrodin. And next we want to speak to Jeff's girlfriend at the time, Jackie.
Y'all dated about 6 years?
Yes.
Steady relationship, or was it off and on?
Off.
Jackie lived with Jeff, so hopefully she can give us some insight on Jeff and Ron's relationship and the rumored argument they had.
Prior to his death, did he mention anything to you about having a falling out with anybody? What was the last thing that you remember on the day of his death?
Him coming by the job.
Whose car was he in?
Ours.
Y'all, the white car? What was the condition of the car as far as the outside of it? Clean, dirty?
Oh, no, it was clean. He always kept the car clean.
What was his routine? How often did he keep it clean?
Throughout the week, he always kept it clean.
So at least twice a week he would wash it? If Jeff cleaned the car as often as Jackie claims, then Ron's handprint could have been left on the car close to the day of the murder, possibly even the day of. That piece of evidence is now a whole lot more significant.
Do you know Ron?
Yeah, I know him.
Was y'all buddies? Or?
No. I just knew him from Jeff. Of course, he liked me. So he was basically not even allowed to come in the house if I'm there. Jeff knew how Ron was about me.
About you. Okay, how do you know that?
Didn't hide it, like, any chance he got to try to holler at me. Jeff had been broke up maybe 2 years when the situation happened with me and Ron.
At one of those times when y'all broke up?
I messed with Ron.
You messed with Ron? You know, Ron did have a sexual relationship, right?
It's just a fling thing.
Just with that one time?
One time.
Do you think Jeff knew that y'all had kicked it one time? You don't think Ron ever told him?
No.
So after that first time that y'all had sex, did he ever try to, get back with you?
He started stalking me.
This could be big. Jackie is admitting that she had sex with Ron. She dismisses it as a one-time fling, but if Ron had feelings for her, that could be another potential motive for Ron wanting to have killed his best friend.
He would come by the house every now and then, knocking on the door. He would try to talk to me, and I would just keep walking. I didn't want to talk to him. And then...
Why not?
Because I felt like he did that. It had to be him. He didn't go to the funeral, and he just changed, like, drastically.
Why do you think Ron would kill? Over what?
Jealousy.
Of what?
Me.
Over you.
Would Jeff bring other guys to the house other than Ron?
Only other person who come to the house would be Ray Ray.
Have you spoken to Ray Ray since? Yeah. You guys talked about
positives, yeah.
Even Ray Ray says that?
According to Jackie, both she and Jeff's friend Ray Ray believe that Ron is the one who killed Jeff. And Jackie thinks she was the motive. Strangely, when Jackie was first interviewed by the police, she never mentioned any of this. It makes you wonder if she felt guilty, and that's why she didn't want to put herself in the middle of everything.
What other reason would he kill Jeff?
Just jealousy, that's the only thing.
Just jealousy.
We want to get a better understanding of how Ron handled his other romantic relationships to see if he displayed a similar pattern of jealous behavior toward those women. The murder happens March of 2002. So y'all separated about a year before.
Yeah, and he would treat me like really, really bad, and I just think he started getting involved in a whole lot of stuff, and from what I understand, he started smoking something they call wet.
Yep, that's marijuana that's dipped in formaldehyde.
Yeah, and he still calls and leaves these weird messages. I think his mind is gone.
Wet is the nickname for cigarettes dipped in PCP and formaldehyde, and it can cause hallucinations, psychosis, and violent outbursts. It makes you wonder if Ron might have been high on that the day Jeff was killed.
After we separated, he was hiding in the bushes when I went to pick up the kids from his mom's house. He came up on us with the car with the lights turned off, and then he had a fight with the guy that I was dating.
Was he ever known to carry a gun?
He pulled one on me before.
Do you think he has the capacity to kill somebody?
Yeah.
Oh, that was quick.
When Ron's ex pushed him away, he started stalking her, just like we heard he did to Jackie. And now we've learned that Ron's jealousy could drive him to violence. Did you ever think he was going to kill you? Okay.
That's him right there looking at us.
That might be him. We've uncovered some evidence against Ron Perrodin for the murder of Jeff Vizay, but we haven't yet ruled out our other suspect, Smokey, the man who shot another man in the head the same week Jeff was killed and allegedly wrote a letter to his uncle where he admitted to Jeff's murder. Fortunately, we've been able to track down his uncle.
We're investigating a cold case homicide from 2002. You was locked up during that time.
I think I was, yeah.
Supposedly, a family member sent you a letter claiming that he's the one that did the killing.
Oh, no.
You don't remember any of that?
Kevin said that you got a letter while he was locked up with you from Smokey.
Oh, no. Smokey wasn't right, period. He was not a big letter writer. He wasn't a big schoolgoer. Smokey never wrote me no letters. Now one of my nephews.
You got a nephew named Pokey?
Pokey and Smokey.
Are they, is that his brother?
Yeah, brothers.
Pokey and Smokey.
It seems like our witness, Big Lip Gip, is just another jailhouse informant trying to sell us a line of bull. We ready to roll? What are y'all's thoughts on what to do with Smokey?
We still didn't find any connection that would tie him to this particular homicide.
The whole Smokey thing just crumbled.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Smokey became a suspect because of his alleged admission and because he shot another man the same way and fled town within days of Jeff's murder. But we couldn't find any credible information to support those rumors or anything about the letter or that he even knew who Jeff was. And if Smokey really did skip town, it seems a whole lot more likely that he was skipping town for that other shooting that he committed. Lawrence Humphrey Smokey is off the board, which leaves us with only one suspect standing.
Yo.
Ray.
Yo.
Ray is the name that came up in the interview with Jackie as another friend of Jeff Vizay. Jackie mentions that when she was talking to Ray told her that Ron did it.
Even Ray says Ron?
You were friends with Jeff and with Jackie, correct?
Correct. I know the day that this happened, I called the house phone looking for him. She answered the phone. So she told me what happened, that Jeff had got killed. And asked me if I would come over there. So when I went over there, then she came out and said, hey, I got a bunch of Jeff clothes here. Do you want them? They were all in bags, already bagged up.
What?
What day was that? Was it that Sunday?
It was at night.
And she already had all of his stuff bagged up and wanted to know if you wanted his stuff.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. That's supposed to be her man. He ain't even cold yet, and she's already got his stuff packed up and wants to know if you want it. Did that kind of strike you as odd?
Yeah.
When we talked to her, Jackie had said that you had said you believed that Ron was the one that killed him.
No.
Did y'all ever have a discussion about who might have done this?
Never.
I think it's pretty odd that Jackie is bagging up Jeff's clothes within hours of him being dead. That sure doesn't sound like somebody who's grief-stricken or in mourning. But on top of that, Ray Ray is contradicting Jackie's claim that Ray Ray thought Ron killed Jeff. She told us flat out, Ray Ray told me Ron did it. So what's going on here? And if Jackie's lying to us, why is she lying? She's coming out with Ron being involved to you years later.
Right.
Mr. Perrodin, he's here today.
He's here right now?
He's here right now.
I'll take note. You'll have good luck.
Okay.
We'll go there and get started on him.
We want to interview Jackie again, but first, it's time we confront Ron Perrodin. If he's our killer, we need him to say something to incriminate himself.
All right. You remember me?
Yes, sir. I remember both of y'all, man.
No, I'm Detective Sam. This will be the first time you didn't meet me.
Okay, but I done seen both of y'all in the community, and, you know, active in the community.
I'm from West Palm Beach.
Okay.
This is the case concerning Jeffrey Vize.
Yes, sir. All right. He's a good friend of me since we was little. We love each other, man. I love this man.
Did you go to his funeral?
And even kiss him in the damn coffin. What?
Really? You kissed him?
Friend.
You kissed him?
Yeah, man.
Do you remember where you were when your best friend got killed?
I don't remember exactly the date.
I know you don't remember the exact date. You don't remember where you was that morning when your friend got killed?
That was just some crazy stuff. I remember even Vize, when we was little, could turn into a little wolf dog and do all kind of crazy stuff.
What?
Jeff?
Turned into a wolf dog.
It's understandable that maybe Ron can't remember where he was after 15 years, but he's going all over the place. We've all seen suspects try to play crazy to get out of having to answer hard questions, but with all the drugs that Ron has smoked, who knows how nutty he is? Either way, trying to get a good answer out of him is gonna be pretty damn hard.
That wolf and that vampire, a lot of white people got fangs that they could bite you in your neck.
Was there anybody he was having problems with?
You mean like a particular person?
We're interrogating our suspect, Ron Perrodin, and at this point, it's hard to tell if he's crazy or just playing us.
Were you and him having a beef?
No, me and my boy would never have no beef. That's some guys that I love and I would do anything for.
You remember who his lady friend was back then?
What you call it so messy, Jackie? Just messy, man.
While we've been investigating this, Jackie told us that one time y'all had a little flame.
Nah, that's what I say. She's so messy, she's just dumb, man.
What, did y'all or y'all did?
Hell no, not no flame. We done all kicked it.
When you say we all, though, who's that?
That's what I'm saying. Me, V, Jackie, we done all chills, blue. There's just some
Who else?
some older people.
What does that mean? Y'all was sharing each other?
Everybody. And ain't nobody, it wasn't behind nobody back.
You wasn't stalking her then?
It wasn't about one-on-one, meaning we all kick it.
He hasn't answered a direct question yet.
Who would do that to your friend?
A lot of times, that's what I'm tripping on, man. That's V right there.
Who would
do up, man?
See this door right here?
All right.
Somebody opened that door and shot that man.
All right, that ain't got to do with me.
Yes, it does.
Why I got something?
Because right here it says the fingerprint that we pulled off of that door comes to Ron C. Perrodin.
Yeah, that sounds like some more bullshit.
No, this sounds like this is from the Southwest Louisiana Crime Lab. Your goddamn prints are on this dead man's car.
See this.
It's right here in black and white.
My print is not on that car.
What does it say right there?
That motherfucker is trying to frame my ass and put me in some
What they do?
Nah,
Think you right? What's bull?
Is you George, my husband? What? I know one of his aunt's name was Georgia, lived in South
So you
Carolina.
keep jumping. Why are you jumping off the fact? Every time we talk about Jeff and you kill him, you switch.
That sounds bullshit.
You switch.
Yeah, because you gonna say I killed my boy. That's my
you
boy.
did. You already did.
That's my best partner, man.
So what would you think?
That Jeffrey Vise could do, I'm sure y'all could do it too. With that wolf man. That's some serious Somebody could hit you point blank range and you turn into an old beast like a wolf. And you're gonna come back to your manly, your human form play. I've seen that. I don't believe he did, man. If this man really got killed, that ain't had nothing to do with me.
This is your best friend.
Ron did a very good job of avoiding every hard question we threw at him. He's also got a lot of serious mental issues, so it's hard to separate the two and know what to do with it.
I don't believe this man is actually dead, man.
Ron Paradin is useless as an interview potential for solving this case. Ready?
Yep.
Good morning, guys. New day, new Jackie. Yes. After speaking to witnesses, we have questions about Jackie and her possible involvement in Jeff's murder. If Jackie is holding back crucial information, it's time for her to tell us what it is.
Good morning, Jackie. We got to clear up some things. Upon talking with Ron, according to him, everybody was knocking boots with everybody in this group between you, Jeff, Ron.
Me?
You know what I'm saying? Everybody.
Did he say Jeff knew about us?
He said everybody knew about everybody, and it wasn't nothing being done behind nobody's back.
That boy lying. That's crazy.
You only slept with him one time?
One time.
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah. I'm serious. It just was one time.
You specifically told us that you and Ray Ray had a discussion, and Ray Ray said something about, I believe that Ron did it also.
I don't recall, but it's possible.
No, this is what you said. This is what you said the last time we talked.
Have you spoken to Ray Ray since? Yeah. You guys talked about suspects?
Possibility, yeah.
When we talked to Ray Ray, he says he don't never recall having that conversation with you.
You know Ron has something to do with this.
I'm assuming.
Okay. But it took 13 years later for us to get there.
No, the same day that I got questioned.
That's not documented anywhere.
Who in the world would do this to Jeff? Go to these apartments to do this? I don't, why was that called that?
If you saw your crime scene of your boyfriend's murder for the first time, wouldn't you have some kind of emotional reaction?
Yes.
We're not saying that you had anything to do with the murder. We're saying that you may be the cause of the murder.
But I wouldn't even be the cause.
She said it the other day.
Why do you think Ron would kill?
Jealousy.
Of what?
Me. I don't know what he's thinking in his head. I can only go by how he's coming to me.
Now Jackie's downplaying what she told us in her other interview, that Ron killed Jeff over her. Jackie's the kind of witness you want to slap the hell out of. She ought to want to help, and she's an exercise in frustration. If Jackie knows more, she's not saying it today. We didn't have much luck with Jackie, and we still feel like she knows more about Jeff's murder. But right now, it's time for us to review all that we have learned. What are y'all's thoughts on Ron Paradin?
He does not have a good response for the prince as to why they're on the car that day.
He can't even give us his own explanation of where he was at that day.
You don't remember where you was when your friend got killed?
That was just some crazy stuff.
We know that Ron had the hots for Jackie.
Yeah.
And that could be a motive.
We found Ron Paradin's ex. Yep. The way she painted the picture of abusive stalker, a whole new Ron Paradin comes out. Did you ever think he was going to kill you? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Every time we mentioned Jeff Vise's name, he deflected.
No, one of his aunt's name was Georgia, lived in South Carolina.
So you keep jumping. Why are you jumping off the fact? Every time we talk about Jeff and you killing him, you switch.
The Ron paradigm that we've all figured out and everything that we think happened is all good, but you're not quite there. Even with everything that we've uncovered about Jeff and Ron's drug argument, Ron and Jackie's affair, Ron's palm print, and his evasive interview behavior, we still have unanswered questions about exactly what happened at that apartment. If Ron is our killer, you have to find that piece that puts Ron and Jeff together face to face on Palm Sunday. The biggest potential play here still remains with Jackie. But for now, because we can't put Ron and Jeff together that day, unfortunately, we do not have enough to present it to a prosecutor, and that is very frustrating and devastating. You feel like Jackie could just get you over that hump. To me, walking away from here, that's the frustrating thing. So what are you thinking, Kirkham?
I'm thinking it's not what we know, it's what we can prove.
I was standing by the window on one cold.
I think we need to take a break. Y'all gotta be tired.
Yep. Frustrated. I don't think tired's a word.
When I saw the hearse come rolling.
I think the good news about today is that there's still hope, you know? Every time we take on a cold case, this is exactly what we're afraid could happen. That you get a family's hopes up, and then you have to tell them at the end that you just didn't get there, at least not yet.
I'm not gonna keep you in suspense. No, we have not made an arrest. We had one particular person we were looking at very closely. However, what we think we know and what we can prove in a court of law is totally two different things.
We work a lot of cases where I walk away going, it's not gonna ever get solved. This is not that case. So you don't need to give up.
Oh, I'm not gonna ever give up. It's just, I don't know. I guess I was expecting more, but losing Jeffrey made me stronger to be able to tolerate whatever the good Lord gave me. I'm not bitter about it. I just miss my son, and I want justice for him.
There's still hope.
Hope and prayers.
Will you pray every morning or every night?
Morning and night.
We're all praying for you, Kirkham. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, don't stop. There's a Bible verse in Galatians that says, let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not give up. You start praying, baby. And I think that's pretty good advice. For more cold justice, go to oxygen.com.